On any job site, you're surrounded by some serious power. But one of the most common things you see, a simple air hose, well, it hides a really violent and often overlooked danger. Yeah, we're talking about hose whip, a catastrophic failure that can happen in the blink of an eye. And we're going to show you the simple steps to make sure it never happens to you. I mean, really think about that for a second. You're holding a tool, and the hose hooked up to it is packed with 120 pounds per square inch of pressure. So what happens if that connection just lets go? We're not talking about a little leak here. This is a violent, instantaneous explosion of energy. In that one instant, the hose becomes a completely different animal. It starts whipping around with unbelievable force, like an uncontrolled metal-tipped bullwhip. The tool that was attached to it, it can get launched like a projectile, and if you happen to be in its path, the consequences are just devastating, from being struck in the head to getting knocked right off a scaffold. That is hose whip. To really get how a simple hose becomes so dangerous, we need to dig into the incredible forces at play. And, what happens when they're all suddenly let loose? Just look at that number, 90 to 120 psi. To put that into perspective for you, that's about 3 to 4 times the pressure you've got in your car's tires. That is a massive amount of stored energy, and it's all held in check by one little coupling. If that coupling fails, all that energy has to go somewhere, and it goes somewhere fast. And this shows you exactly how fast things can go wrong. Let's just walk through this real-world incident. So step 1, you've got the failure. A worker's using a chipping hammer, but the coupling isn't secured with a safety clip. Step 2, the accident. The hose just disconnects while it's under full pressure. Step 3 is the result. In a split second, that hose whips around, hits the worker in the face, causing severe permanent damage. And the most tragic part of all, the prevention. This was completely avoidable. So how do we prevent this? Thankfully, there's a really clear and simple rule out there, designed specifically to stop these kinds of accidents before they can ever happen. Okay, so the OSHA regulation is super direct. It says that the tools have to be secured by, and here's the key phrase, some positive means to prevent them from accidentally disconnecting. Now, this isn't a suggestion, it's the law on any job site. But what does positive means actually, mean? Positive means isn't some fancy legal term. It just refers to actual physical hardware, stuff you can see and touch. We're talking about safety clips, retaining wires, and especially whip checks. They're all devices designed to make sure a connection can't just vibrate loose or pop off. You have to deliberately disconnect it. So let's actually take a look at what this hardware looks like in the real world. You'll see how these simple little devices provide a really critical layer of safety. Okay, look close at this. That small pin that's inserted through the coupling, that's a safety clip. It's a simple, pretty brilliant little device that physically stops the two halves of the coupling from twisting apart. This is your absolute first line of defense. But what happens if that main coupling has a catastrophic failure? Well, that's where the whip check comes in. This thing, this strong steel cable, it acts like a safety net. It's a critical backup system. And here you can see one that's installed perfectly. The whip check just loops over the hose on one side and connects to the tool on the other, basically bridging that connection point. If the main coupling fails, the whip check physically stops the hose from flying loose. It contains the danger. It's that simple. Now, having the right gear is one thing, but using it correctly and building safety into your daily habits, that is what really prevents accidents. Before you even think about connecting that tool, you need to run through a quick inspection. And I mean every single time. Are there any cracks or cuts in the hose? Is the safety clip there? Is the whip check installed the right way? This simple 30-second check is honestly one of the most important things you can do all day long. And when you're actually working, this is absolutely non-negotiable. Always, always depressurize the hose before you disconnect it. Shut off the air, bleed the line, and then break the connection. Trying to disconnect a pressurized hose is just asking for an accident to happen. Other good habits, like keeping hoses out of walkways and always wearing your PPE, they complete the safety system. So who's responsible for making sure all this actually happens? The answer is pretty simple. Everyone. But we all have different responsibilities.
Let's break this down. Your employer is responsible for providing the right equipment, the whip checks, the proper couplings, and for training everyone on how to use them. Now, your job as the employee is to use that training. You need to inspect your gear before every single use, never bypass a safety device, and immediately report anything that looks damaged or worn out. It's a partnership in safety. So, the key takeaway here is that you can use this knowledge right now. Think of this as your personal on-the-spot checklist. Before you pick up that tool, just ask yourself these questions. This might just be the most important check you do all day.
And that brings us to our final and definitely most important question. This isn't about tomorrow or the next job site. This is about right now. Is your gear checked? Because a simple pin and a short cable are the only things standing between a normal workday and a life-changing injury.